So I'll tell you the exact reason why I'm making this video over here. I was looking on the Edmonton Oilers subreddit and I saw this post made by a user named, what is it called? Lubyanka Square. Okay, I'm gonna assume I pronounced that right. If I didn't, then I apologize. How far is Philip Broberg from making the NHL, and what is his potential? I saw this conversation pop up in my feed, and I was like, okay, that's a cool, discussion topic to have right there. Philip Broberg, if you're unaware, is a top Oilers prospect, drafted 8th overall in the 2019 NHL Entry Draft. He's 6'3", 198, a left-handed guy. He plays on the blue line. So, the Oilers, you want to talk about defensemen, adding on left-handed defensemen, that's something that a lot of people have been saying, okay, maybe they want to go ahead and do that, who really knows? Broberg is a guy in your system that displays that type of profile. Now, I say in the system and not on the team because he's playing right now for the Bakersfield Condors, where in 26 games played, he's got 18 points. He has played 8 games with the regular Oilers too, where he had 1 assist. And when it comes to the way Broberg plays the game, he is a very good skater, very fluid, very agile. His straight line speed is second to none, and he was regarded as one of the better skaters in the 2019 NHL Entry Draft. Now, of course, Jack Hughes was the best one, which is kind of why he went first overall, but Philip Broberg also had himself some very educated feet. Now, when it comes to the way he played the game, though, there were some concerns that held him back from being seen as a unanimous top guy. The brains, the smarts, the way he perceives the game, it was all kind of questionable, because even though in the Allsvenskan level and in Sweden and playing for different versions of Team Sweden, he was able to go out there and absolutely dominate the competition with that skating speed, but when it came to making complicated, sophisticated plays, it wasn't really all there for Philip Broberg. Defensively, he wasn't really the most reliable, and when he wasn't taking the puck and skating in a straight line, there was somewhat of an unpredictable quality as to what he would do in a negative way. He had all the tools to be a top-of-the-line, game-changing, puck-moving defenseman, but when it came to the toolbox, that wasn't really as defined, which is why he was held back from being a solidified top 3, top 4, top 5 pick. And it's why if you take a look at the projections, some people had him as low as 17, others had him as high as number 9. Despite this fact, though, he went 8th. And the Oilers were in a position where there were a lot of people, some people in the hockey media world, highlighting how the Oilers just really wanted a defenseman. And oddly enough, it was Moritz Seider whose name sort of popped in and out of those conversations like a little weasel on the whack-a-mole thing that you play. We sort of heard Seider's name thrown in there. We sort of heard the idea that the Oilers just really wanted a defenseman in general. And so when Seider was taken off the board 6th overall by the Red Wings, it left Philip Broberg as the next best choice for the Oilers. Now, a lot of people would have made that debate, okay, I would have rather had Cam York or Soderstrom instead of Broberg, and that's a fair argument to make. It's just in the Oilers' eyes, they saw the potential, they saw what he could be, and they said, okay, we like that. We're going to take that instead of all these other defensemen that are also available. Now, going back to the Reddit post, sorry about that little tangent, I just wanted to get up to speed with who Philip Broberg is. Ever since he was called up when the team's defense was reduced to ashes, I have not heard too much of Broberg. I think we can all agree that he was a pretty typical, talented but raw, young defenseman. Since then, though, I haven't really thought about him much until the other day, when the following things occurred to me. Trevor Zegras was picked 1 pick after him, and he's the toast of the league right now, if not a tad overhyped. Still really good, though. Then you also have Dylan Holloway, who was picked the year after him, who was practically knocking down the door to get in, according to most pundits and people familiar with the team. And so, before even expanding more on what the Reddit post also says, when I saw this point made about Trevor Zegras, it really got me thinking, okay, what's the discourse on that? What exactly are Oilers fans' opinions about Trevor Zegras being as good as Trevor Zegras is? Because this guy was taken immediately after Philip Broberg at the 9th overall spot by the Anaheim Ducks. And if you go over to Twitter, I tried to look for myself what the conversation is about this. If you go onto Twitter and you search up Broberg Zegras, that's it. You just search up the 2 words in the same search because you're looking for all the tweets that have both of those words in them. You see a whole bunch of Oilers fans going out there and sarcastically saying things, okay, I'm super happy we took Broberg because Zegras is out there at the All-Star Skills Competition blindfolding himself and doing the Pavel Barber move on steroids. Imagine taking Broberg over Zegras. Oh wait, the Oilers did. I'm really wishing the Oilers took Zegras over Broberg, and it just kind of goes on like this. You see it and you scroll down and you're saying, oh boy, there's a lot of people talking about Broberg and how he was taken before Zegras. And so that's why I'm kind of making this video over here, trying to propose the question, okay, what the heck would have happened had things gone a little bit differently, and are you okay with how things have gone down? No disrespect to Philip Broberg, I do believe that he has kind of worked on his game so much to the point that the concerns about him not really having the toolbox to house his tools, they're not as prevalent as they were a few years ago anymore. And I really do think that in the Allsvenskan, in the SHL, and especially in the AHL, we have seen some very good development out of Philip Broberg, that there is an NHL projectable defenseman here. He was always going to make the NHL, in my opinion, off of his skating alone. You don't really see guys who move the way that Broberg does not make the league. It was just a question as to whether or not his brain would be able to keep up with the game. And so far throughout the AHL, I mean, he's been getting a lot of power play time. He's been playing big minutes on a Condors team that has been very good. That's one of the top comments in the Reddit post, by the way. And as a result, I really do think there's a good NHL player lying in Broberg in the next few years. It's just, he's not Trevor Zegras. And when I start thinking, okay, what the heck could Zegras have done had he played alongside a Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl? You want to talk about scoring depth. You want to talk about an Oilers team that everybody is saying needs more from the rest of their lineup. Sure, they're winning games again, and sure, McDavid, Draisaitl, and all them are getting points again. But this team has some very extravagant movements on the roller coaster. When they're up, hey, they're really up. Connor McDavid's going out there with 2 points a game. Leon Draisaitl is getting a hat-trick every game, and the team is winning like 3 out of every 4. But when they're down, they are so far down in the dumps that everybody starts blaming, okay, it's the goaltending. It was never great. It's the depth. It was never great. Connor McDavid and Draisaitl are not enough. And Ken Holland is doing a bad job. Sure, multiple things can be true at once. You can say that those are still faults of the team, even if they're doing well. But when I think about Trevor Zegras, this is probably the most creative, most spectacular, and most out-of-the-box hockey player that exists in the NHL world today, and he happens to also be very good at producing points. He's on pace for like 60-something on the year. Not saying that he's playing on a bad Anaheim team. In fact, the Anaheim Ducks are doing pretty well, but Trevor Zegras is doing all this stuff on the Anaheim Ducks. Imagine what he could be doing if he's playing with 2 of the best players in the world. And, I mean, it's not really like Broberg is doing all too much for the Oilers right now anyway. Sure, he's an option when their defense gets a little bit obliterated, but still, you want to talk about the timeline? You want to talk about Connor McDavid getting impatient? I know he made those comments the other day saying that he wants to win in Edmonton and he feels like he's an Oiler and all that stuff, but come on, everybody says that. When you get down to it, if you had made the draft pick, Zegras instead of Broberg, 3 years ago in the 2019 draft, today your team is significantly better. Now, I don't know if Philip Broberg becomes Bobby Orr in the next few years, but he's certainly not there yet. And so it'll take a little bit of time before that guy becomes the best that he's able to be. And thus, I mean, you think about Zegras and what that guy's doing, this is a player right here. And this is a darn good NHL player. So, yeah, it's kind of difficult to think about, isn't it? The Oilers had a chance to draft Zegras, and like the other 8 teams that were in front of him, they passed. Or 7 teams. Yeah, 7 teams. May I remind you that Trevor Zegras, with his 42 games played, 32 points, all this stuff that he had back in 2019, he was actually ranked to go a lot higher than he did. He was ranked to go 6th by McKean, 7th by TSN and Bob McKenzie, 8th by Future Considerations. He went 9th. And there were some people, myself included, that thought that Zegras could have legitimately been a top 5, top 4 talent even. Alex Turcotte went 5th overall to the LA Kings after Byram, Dach, Kakko, and Hughes. And there were many people that kind of said, okay, I honestly could have had Zegras ahead of Turcotte. Like, sure, the point production favored Turcotte, and the work ethic, the motor, you know, the two-way efficiency was good. It's just for Zegras, you had just the unpredictability to him. You had the skills and you had the puck on a string qualities that he's showing off today at the NHL level and at the All-Star Challenge. Just how good they really are. And so I was one of those people that was like, yeah, if you want to bet on talent, you want to bet on upside, you want to bet on skills, Trevor Zegras has the moon beyond him and his ceiling. Like, there is so much potential here. And just seeing how the 2019 draft went, of course, everybody talks about Hughes and Kakko being disappointments or whatever. We all know they're going to be better as their careers go on for sure. Dach going 3 was a surprise. Byram going 4 was kind of expected. Turcotte going 5 was kind of expected, although you could have argued that Zegras could have gone higher. Same with Podkolzin. Then Boldy was also there too at the 12 spot. It was a very weird draft. We're going to have to make some sort of a video going over everything that went down there. But talk to me in the comments, what do you think about the Oilers and them missing out on Trevor Zegras for Broberg? I hope you enjoyed this video. 99 and bye.